12 years ago, I started out as a YouTuber, launders. I used to make Counter-Strike KZ YouTube tutorials for people to learn how to do movement in CSGO. And back then, I made a team called Boxer, and I made a little brand for myself when I was a streamer called Boxer. And here we are 12 years later, and that little team and that logo that I made, me and Taylor have turned into a clothing company where we are now collaborating with HLTV. And we had the privilege and honor of using some of their most iconic photographs over the years and get the rights to those images to celebrate some of the players and moments in history, all the way from NIP 2013, who I first started watching, into Cloud9 winning Boston, which is the peak for any North American fan, into the era of today, which is the Donk era. He got his own shirt. So you can go get that on boxermovement.club. Yeah, so the prices look high. That's because everything's made in America, fair wage labor, produced by Taylor, designed by Taylor. We're a mom and pop organization, us two. We are doing it the organic way and making super high quality stuff. And the prices also, unlike when you order from other websites, they don't show you customs fees that you have to pay when they get to your door. On our site, it's baked in. You will not pay a single dollar over that price. And if it crosses a border, it will go through customs. You will not have to wait for customs. It'll go right to your doorstep, okay? So we know that it makes the prices look scarier, but you would have had to pay those fees anyway. And now you don't have to wait for it to go through customs. It'll never get lost. You'll never have to get a phone call or miss a delivery or anything. Right to your doorstep from our store. Clean. That's the solution we wanted to go with. It's been working very well. Everyone's been very happy with our products. Hopefully you get the chance to wear some, and maybe at the next events, if you're in Toronto, I'll be doing lots more live stuff and we'll sell stuff there so you can come pick it up in person. All right. I am here to catch up because, guys, it's been a long time. I didn't upload last month, and that's because 2025 schedule, as you know, with the addition of the VRS system and new tournaments coming back and Star Ladder getting added to the calendar, it's nonstop. It has been nonstop. So normally I do a blast event, which was groups last time at the beginning of the year. Then I do the first 2 stages of Cato. Then I come home. This time it was the same, except we did the HLTV Awards, which is awesome. And then the Blast Bounty, which was awesome, but it got longer. And then we did the first 2 stages and came home. So I'm also leaving for PGL in 2 days to go to Bucharest to do their event there. So not as much time at home, and getting sick in between every single event because obviously it's still the winter. People are getting ill. I just wanted to get everyone caught up on where I'm at. I will still be uploading tons this year. Lots of stuff to catch up on. Very excited for all the new roster moves. And that's why today we want to make a Counter-Strike tier list for all of the debut teams. Okay, for all the debut teams that we've watched. I figure this would be the best way to go over both the news and the new rosters. If you guys have been watching, and CS2 has been amazing to watch, you can't deny it. All right, so why don't we kick off? We got the complexity lineup with the additions of Nyx and Sixy, okay? Nyx and Sixy. These have been really cool additions because Complexity have decided to go back to their old logo, the OG logo, and they signed 2 of fully American players. I mean, we're at a state right now where you have Nouns, which are an American team, but aren't as notable right now as Complexity. They didn't get their funding passed recently. Hopefully they submit another proposal and get their funding passed, because Nouns are the other team that are, you know, the flag bearers for North America that we're really rooting for. Junior just put together an amazing map recently, but Complexity have decided to stick to the North American roots, and I really appreciate that. Obviously, as the Kanye West of Counter-Strike, you know I'm rooting for national teams here. So even on Liquid, man, there's 2 Canadians, which I love that, but there's not even a single American on that lineup. Like, what year is it? So Complexity, they come in with Nyx and Sixy, and the funny part is with Sixy, the meme is that, you know, in this online games in the past, he's like got caught drinking beers on his like camera while he was playing. And now there's like all these Bud Light memes because he drinks beer while he plays. Well, Complexity have been leaning into those memes on Twitter, which has been awesome. And a lot of people have been talking about Sixy a ton. Nyx has been a quieter signing, but I think Nyx actually, well, Nyx had a much more fantastic debut in terms of his abilities. His train performance at the Bounty was really remarkable. And I think Complexity actually showed that they have a lot of potential. I don't know if they have more potential than they did with a Liege, right? That's tough to say. But I think they're actually surprisingly fun to watch. I'll put it that way. So I wouldn't say it was like a stellar debut. Let me just double check their wins here. No wins. No wins. Okay, they didn't win a map. Okay, so I guess I can't put them in B tier. That might be a little bit too high. But I will say they still were kind of fun to watch. Impressive for their debut. I'm willing to put them in B tier. If I was a European YouTuber, I wouldn't do this for you, Complexity, but I got you B tier. But JT did have an interview where he said it was looking good, but we don't have that much room to lose. And that's very true. And it's really rough with the VRS system for a lot of the American teams. The Wildcard, for example, are basically living in Europe right now, boot camping, playing tournaments, and getting practice. And it's benefiting them a lot. But it also means that things are just becoming more Eurocentric than ever instead of more open than ever. All right, next up, we got Vitality, who, well, they trounced this kid here at Katowice. This was amazing. So they added in ROPS instead of Spinks. ROPS, obviously, from FAZE. What can we say about this, man? Vitality, when they replace Spinks, I think most players agreed that this was a upgrade in terms of the quality of the player as an individual, ROPS versus Spinks. But watching him play on this lineup, they had initially problems on T sides, too slow, too awkward. CT sides looked, whoa, like, damn, they got a lot of power. Like, you think about ROPS playing A main on Anubis. He was elite at that role. You could leave him there and play that site by himself, no problem. You put him on B on Dust 2 with Mezzi, it's looking extremely good. You have him as a small site anchor for this team and as a lurker on T side and as a closer. He's an upgrade in every respect. And they actually just closed out one of the biggest tournaments of the entire year, arguably second biggest outside of a major, by adding in ROPS. His performance in that final was probably more impactful than we saw from Spinks in any single game in Vitality versus obviously a team like Spirit. So it was Apex's first time in playoffs and his first time winning in playoffs, and then he won the tournament. This is a very incredible debut. It'll be one of the few, if only maybe the one S-tier debut, because, well, that's the best result you could possibly ask for. Taking out Spirit, a best of 5, 3-0 fashion, and this is all to say that Spirit last year had a track record of losing semifinals. They put up good records versus a lot of teams, like FaZe, for example. They would usually beat FaZe, but at both majors last year, they got eliminated in the quarters and semis of Copenhagen and Shanghai and lost the tournament because of that. They could have potentially won both majors. Honestly, they were in form to be able to do that, but they lost key matchups that they were good at in head-to-heads in those moments. So this is a huge moment for Vitality to prove their quality in playoffs. We saw ZywOo actually benefit from ROPS' addition to the team. The trading was incredibly effective versus Spirit. I think Dust 2 was a map that was a lot closer than it looked, and the last map could have been a comeback for Spirit for sure, and they were basically comatose after they lost. So it's not that the game wasn't close, but the fact that Vitality still won, I think, spoke for itself. ROPS and ZywOo is going to be a thing, okay? ROPS and ZywOo is going to be a thing from now on. ZywOo is going to play his best CS alongside ROPS. That's my prediction for sure. And this won't be the end for Vitality, and it's great to have him as a contender for this year. So lots of good things to say there. S tier for Vitality. BETBOOM. BETBOOM. Okay, BETBOOM come into this year, they play at the Bounty, and unfortunately because of visa issues, they couldn't play with their 5 when it came to the LAN. When they played their online portion, they were shockingly good. I think MagnoJez will definitely look like he's going to be a star of this team. I think it's Boomich and Axal trying to recover, right? Big Boomich is now Skinny Boomich. 2021 Axal is finding himself, and I think that BETBOOM have a great composition. They have just that right amount of new talent in MagnoJez, who we've seen how well he can play, but not under the correct composition on a lineup that's super hungry. BETBOOM seemed like that lineup. I was very impressed with their games. They didn't win. I could put them above complexity, and we didn't get to see enough. My only issue with this lineup was that they had like 12 days to practice, and they said they were playing like 10 hours a day. And if they say that in an interview, I'm going to take their word for it. But they got worse every game they played. First game, no missed nades, great defaults, perfect amount of X factor, not playing scared. Next game, every Mirage window smoke missed. Every molly was blown up in the air. Things were falling from the sky. So BETBOOM looked good. Wondering about their consistency. Excited about MagnoJez. Okay, Virtus Pro. People are wondering if the Grim Reaper electronic memes are real. Is he coming along to destroy another lineup? He's somehow gotten into this team and got rid of Jame. It's like Cadian getting removed from Heroic. It feels like it's not possible. Obviously, we're far removed from that point, but Jame getting removed from Virtus Pro, even more unlikely, I feel like. And, well, is Electronic a better IGL than Jame? I would say definitely not. I think that there were a lot of moments for Virtus Pro where they actually could have slowed it down to a Jame pace, but they get way too excited. They like to call fast rounds just for the sake of changing it up, almost as if they just want to be the antithesis of who they were before, and it feels very forced. And a lot of situations they give up on that premise, and so they can be more fun to watch, but they also lose in sillier ways. So it depends what you're looking for. But Virtus Pro actually did take wins. They made it to Cato playoffs. didn't do much while they were there, but that was actually not too bad. And they've been playing a little bit longer than some of these other teams, so we'll say that much. We'll just put them in the B tier for now, okay? Ooh, the BIGCLAN. BIGCLAN, man. This is one of my favorite new lineups, okay? And I will say that this debut is an A for me, okay? I love that they brought Hyped back. Okay, these teams won one map, and they lost to 500 at a Premier Blast Rising event, okay? All right, well, I can't do it on wins, unfortunately, because they lost 2-0 to 3D Max, but they did take down Heroic. They absolutely destroyed Imperial FE, and they got a map off of FAZE in a series that I actually think they could have 1 and 2 maps. This was a really, really solid showing, in my opinion, because Hyped, as a player who got benched, put up absolutely astronomical numbers in one of these maps. What was this? A 2.59 rating versus Heroic, 24-7 on Nuke. This is one of the best maps I've seen a German player play ever, period. And he did it on this German lineup as the opper, not as a stand-in, not as a brand new guy, a guy who got a second lease on life to come back to play with Big. Taps in an interview said Hyped has grown as a person, he's grown as a person, and they're both benefiting from it. Now we can see that his inconsistency is still there, and I think that's part of the reason why he got cut in the first place. But the X factor is extremely real, and his quality play versus top teams, I think it's still there. There's going to be games where this is necessary. Searson could never do this map that he did versus Heroic. Searson is not capable of this level of impact, period. So I think Hyped as a spearhead of Big, and their new addition of QB, incredible. I was so impressed with QB fitting into the lineup really well. Again, we see inconsistency, and like some of these losses look bad, but you know, starting from here, and we're talking just LAN matches, so not these games, we saw a very, very good start. And I think that I really like QB a ton on this team, and I think he's just the right fit. So this big lineup is my favorite big lineup in history. I think that even past the Xantares one, because it's more racist. I love that they're all German. I think that this is a lineup that if they now stick together, Taps in, I think he's probably getting help or expanding the playbook in his mind, but him and Crimbo working really well together. I think one of the reasons why Dust 2 as a map is more fun to watch, everyone's saying it's one of the best tier 1 maps to watch right now, is because a lot of teams are not going for 5 long hits, then waiting till 30 seconds, crawling across the long smoke, having it get innatted open, spammed on the crot. All that stupid stuff is gone. People are playing less spawn-based. They're playing spawn-based openers, but they're not playing spawn-based commit out-of-spawn strategies, and instead just going for tactics, for pick plays and stuff. Lots more mid-action on Dust 2, and I'm seeing Big really do well on Ancient, on Dust 2. I feel like they are only beginning to open up their playbook. The calling in general has gotten so much better, and I think right now one of my main issues, well, besides Hyped being a little inconsistent, Crimbo's aim just sometimes isn't good enough, and he's the guy who probably should be the cold zero of this team, you know, the best player playing from the back, the ROPS of this team, but I think sometimes his mechanics let him down. I think that's something you should focus on, because cerebrally, I think he's the smartest player on the team, for sure. But yes, my favorite German lineup, my favorite big lineup in history, not Berlin International Gaming, just Berlin Gaming now. BG, okay? Love these guys. Hype for BIGCLAN. I'm going to put them in A tier. I'm just very excited about this debut, even though nobody's winning maps in their debuts. FNATIC F. I had watched them at the Bounty. Absolutely the worst debut in terms of calling. They don't look like a real team, in my opinion. Unfortunately, this is with the addition of Fear. And what sucks about this is he comes from Passion UA. Passion UA at the Major were one of the most incredible stories of the Major. They were the Copenhagen Flames lineup of the Major. Fear is not able to bring out of this team what he was on Passion UA. I can't help but feel like language barrier is a thing. If it was me, he would be forced to play on Passion UA. There would be no leaving. You play on Passion UA, you and Jambo together, you bring it home. I think he should go back, in fact. I think this is a terrible move. I think it's going to kill his confidence. Maybe we don't see Fear again. I hope not. D tier, worst roster move. Hate to see this. This team looks like ass. Speaking of ass, Falcons. Actually, jokes. I liked Falcons a ton. And you know what? I liked them even more than BIGCLAN. Falcons. We've been making fun of Falcons for so many a year. You know, between Snappy and Zonic, it looked like they didn't know how to play Tier 1 CS. In fact, they proved that with their results. They had their best wins. We're getting to the Cato quarters or semifinals at the beginning of 2024. That's about it. Falcons were absolute trash, and they really soiled, I think, a lot of the names on that team who have won so many majors in history. But Falcons, they tried to buy out the core of ENCE, and that was like the worst roster move of the season, because obviously, actually, I would say this. When they did that, they ruined ENCE. They didn't take Nerts. They basically blew up like 4 different lineups. by making this team happen. And then they didn't win anything. So you got the worst of both worlds when it came to Falcons trying to spend money to get a core of a team. And then you had Falcons do it again this year. But was it wrong for them to buy a core? No, it actually was right. And with the VRS system, you kind of have to buy a core now in order to keep the points. Buying the Heroic core destroyed Heroic, or so we thought, and yet they actually still looked good. If you look at the lineup right now, you have Kicksan, Degster, Nico, and Magisk playing on this team. Nico coming in and Magisk staying are the perfect upgrades compared to the lineup of old with Falcons. And now they have Tesses, who was actually doing very well on Heroic, playing for Falcons and fitting right in. I think the CS is looking great. They didn't make it as far as like Vitality winning the event or anything. It's not like any of these lineups have actually got results besides Vitality yet, but that's a bar just too high. You know, it's 2 events have been played. So Falcons, I think they actually are onto something. I'm ready to believe in them. I'm ready to enjoy watching Falcons play. And I only hated on watching Falcons play because they were ass. If they're good, if they're fun to watch, I will be rooting for them. And, you know, when they made this team, I was like, this is it. Nico's choosing money over a major. But he said he left G2 because he didn't agree with some of the roster moves. I can't say I feel differently myself. So what can we say about that, man? I mean, we all agree that G2 have made some roster moves that you wonder, like, what were they thinking? Falcons, if they offer more money for him and also the ability to buy more players, all right. Is there a major in Kicksan's future? Yeah, maybe. Is there a major in Dexter's future? Yeah, maybe. Tesses, if he plays like this, yeah, maybe. Magisk, another major? I mean, he's already got 4, but does he need to be the star player? No. So, I mean, I don't think... I want to say Nico's not going to win a major in his career starting over like this and leaving m0NESY in specific, but I can't say that Falcons have put together a bad team here. So, all right. I'm going to put them in A, I think, actually. And in terms of raw quality, they're probably still ahead of Big and all these other teams below. So Falcons A tier on the debut. All right, for what it's worth. I mean, maybe this is kind of generous to put A teams in the debut because there's such a gap between S and A, but whatever. All right, Gamer Legion. A tier. Gamer Legion, man. Ash has gotten both a lot of praise and heat for being the YouTube coach, you know? I don't want to say heat, but people were wondering, is he just, people are a fan of him because he has a YouTube channel? Is he overrated when he's actually not that good, but he, you know, people know what he sounds like, and other coaches we don't know? Well, Ash, man, Ash explained some of the moves that he's made, why they cut Volt, which I was actually quite sad about, but his explanation for it kind of made sense. It was a team that was a little bit too passive all around. He survived losing Falmus now. They've survived losing Shui. They've survived losing Imma. They have, with all these iterations, gone through radical moves, a lot like Heroic have, and actually still come out pretty ahead. I think Rez, your time on NIP did not count, is not something I thought I would ever say because I thought Rez was going to retire in a NIP jersey. And I just want to give Rez credit. It's a pretty brave move to make this stage of your career. You could have gone blameless as a guy who just gets like a decent above average rating on a team where you just didn't want to leave. You're Swedish. You play with them for so long. You probably literally are marrying someone in the organization and know everybody's families and go to their weddings and stuff. And you go to Gamer Legion. Maybe you want to play with Ash. Maybe you just want to take a risk, but you're here to try to win. Like, you are trying to win. And Rez was an amazing carry for Gamer Legion at this event. Integrated well because of Ash. This debut was very successful. Very exciting results. I'm even willing to put them over Big. And I think Gamer Legion are going to be a threat. They took a map off of Spirit on Anubis. This reminded me of Israel Adesanya versus Sean Strickland when they played against Spirit on Anubis. They played extremely slow-paced rounds, a specific playstyle, both halves of the map. It grinded out Spirit. It was perfect counters to everything. They made sure Zontix could never push A main. Then they hit B late. They were so good at punishing every little detail. And they still got crushed in the series because they were severe underdogs. But they showed that they could game plan in a way that I think people are comparing Ash to Jose Mourinho. I think I don't know a lot about football, but the legendary coach that never loses at home and has game plans that some people find boring but are specifically tailored to their opponents. And he makes a lot out of nothing. And so, I don't know, maybe there's comparison there. Maybe you guys could fill it out for me, but that's what I've heard is sounding right. I think Ash did a lot with a little, and you could see the coaching in the game for sure. Him versus Hallie was very cool to watch on the comms, who could speak faster, more words per minute on the pauses. I think Hallie's the go to that though. That guy talks fast. Okay, Gamer Legion up in the A. Heroic, man. Okay, Heroic also, I'm not going to put them down in B, man. Heroic, what the hell? How did they do this? Who are these guys? Who's Young Star? Who's the guy who looks up to Twist and then beats him twice in his debut? How is it that another coach in SAW is able to bring so much out of a lineup with more players that you haven't heard of? The Sangal core gets picked up for Heroic. Their debut also looks like extremely good CS in general. They look like a threat. And the last time that they debuted with Kicksand at the beginning of 2024. There was a similar start. It was a surprisingly new roster with Dexter. Then they ran into all the visa problems throughout the year, but they really fell off drastically and only got good towards the end. So we don't know if there's just a honeymoon thing that happens under Saw's lineups, and if they'll taper off now that Kato's over. But we are still quietly hopeful that we can get some news stories into the tier 1. And that is the best part about these coaches becoming more legitimate than ever, that you can add in players almost at will, and the coaches and the team will make them better. If you're not running a CS org like that, you're going to completely fall behind now. You know, an exception might be Falcons, where it doesn't feel like Sonic understands how people are playing tier 1 CS2, at least if he did, or between him and Snappy, like where were the results that showed they did? They have Nico, they have Kicksand, they have Dexter. They have a core and everything that operates already at the highest level of CS2. So I don't think that much is needed. But for the guys who are picking up random tier 2 players, I think, you know, your organization, like with Spirit, have to show that they have a proven track record of development. And I think Heroic are doing that, which is very impressive. They had their cake and ate it too this year. Sold the core for $10 million or whatever the price was. They signed a new lineup. They still look successful. They've kept a great coach. Promising, man. Heroic. Moving on. FaZe Clan. Oh, this one's a little bit contentious. And this one's a little bit awkward to put in because they have more map wins and results. But in terms of how good their debut was, they should be tied here with Vitality, right? In theory. Alish coming into this lineup. On paper, it's a way harder move than Vitality's, okay? Rob's coming in for Spinks. On paper, it's not 1-for-1, but it's close. And it even opens up like Flamesy playing more rotator spots, more star positions, Mezzy as well. And then that worked. FaZe Clan, this is Kerrigan playing Aeon Ancient. This is Rain playing Pit on Inferno. These are some awkward spots that other players on the team now have to go into now that they've lost Rops. The loss of Rops extremely felt on FaZe. Now we did have an absolutely cinematic matchup between them and Eternal Fire where they lost to get in the Kato playoffs. So there could be more to see. But as it stands, I am not excited about seeing other people fill Rops' positions. I want to see Frozen fill all of Rops' positions. I know that's not how it works. And for those wondering why, when you're a pro and you're playing, you don't play all the spots that you look like you're supposed to play. You're going to get good at spots from different teams. You're going to build a career on certain positions. And, you know, the 1-for-1 change is Rops switching with Frozen on ramp on Nuke. That looks great. Everywhere else, I want to see Frozen take over all those small site anchor spots. I know Rain was an anchor once in his career. I just don't want to see that now. I don't want to see him moving around. I just don't want to see that. I don't want to see Kerrigan playing these anchor spots. Him playing Aeon on Anubis. It's just weak. It's just weak. It's not good. I don't know if it'll ever be that good. And there are star role players in those positions for other teams that you'll have to compete against. It's a hard CT side in general. So I just want to see Frozen pick up all the spots and give Kerrigan and Rain a bit more space to play more info positions and keep some of their natural spots. And these guys, they're all getting old too, right? They can learn not as fast. So come on, Grandpa needs some new tennis balls for his walker. You just need to keep it moving. Don't reinvent the wheel here. And I'll have some criticism for Kerrigan in integrating players if they don't make this work, because the one thing that's cool is that Elige is their first star rifler since Nico was on the team. And Rain is as well. Rain did have the Antwerp MVP performance, major MVP, but Rain's consistency is not the same as levels of Elige or when Nico was on the team in 2017. So now they have that on T side. They have, you know, 2019 Elige is what he seems to still be playing like on T side. So I'm seeing the upgrades there. CT sides I think need work, and Elige personally definitely sold a few rounds when they played against Eternal Fire. On T side, CT side as well, pushing through smokes. I think trying to get into the mix and the flow, but the chemistry wasn't exactly there to kick things off. I think the second or last round of Nuke where he swings single door on lower B site versus Eternal Fire and full commits in a situation where he could get one and peek out the door, fall back, and then play time and play off his teammates. He was trying to do way too much in a lot of these spots. That wasn't very promising, but Elige is a super smart, methodical player with a proven record of winning. So I have like high hopes. It's not the best debut. It's not Vitality, and it's not as superseding expectations quite as much as some of these other lineups, but it's still better. It's still better, and they're still very close to playoffs. And I think they would have done more damage and showed much more improvement. And it's still very early on. So I'll still put it in A. That might be a little generous. A little FaZe fanboy over here. Okay, MOUZ. MOUZ didn't win a map at Kato. It's not D because they don't have Spinks. This is like, they had Zelix come in from the Academy League. Zelix is actually quite interesting to watch for a guy who actually didn't even have good stats online, and it's just a substitution type thing. They should have been able to have Spinks play, but it couldn't happen. Brolin's gonna be calling for this team. I just want to hate on MOUZ and pray on their downfall because they cut Shuei. Jim Pat has an interview where they said, and he's not the only one who said this, but he's the one who said in the interview that they just didn't want to have the style of calling Shuhei brought. Well, what happened last time they cut Shuhei? They brought him back after he brought Gamer Legion to the major grand finals. And since Shuhei played on this roster, bro, it was not Shuhei's fault that they lost. You want to talk about exertion in some of these playoffs, getting nervous and not playing as well as you could? Watch my top 20 videos on them. I had so many nice things to say, but Jimmy was inconsistent last year, could have done better. Xerxin got nervous in those really important games. Torzi's consistency went up, and Torzi played way better under Shuhei than he did under Dexter as an AWPer. There's no reason to be excited about this lineup, in my opinion. I don't know. Brolin's IGLing, like who thought that was going to be possible? So whatever. At least Shuhei got to teach him stuff. But yeah, otherwise I'll be hating. Okay, this is my tier list for the debuts to start the year, kick off some storylines. It's been a very exciting start to the year. As always, man, CS2, you absolutely love to see it. Just love CS, watching it, casting it, everything like that. So back to traveling for me. And if you guys have ideas or formats or anything like that you want to see for this year, whether it's more news videos or more commentary videos or whatever, just let me know in the comments. Appreciate you guys hanging out, watching another Counter-Strike video. And yeah, be safe. I'll see you watching in the chat, watching PGL Bucharest. Code launders ASON. 10% off.